about his own. What you folks have to be concerned about here is what else is Charlie not going to be truthful with you about? You told him not to vote for the health care law. But he did so anyway.
Thank you.
You can pick one of these up in the back if you want.
Mr. Wilson,
Again, shallow, just this guy doesn't want to own. He wants you to think he was CIO of Stone Ridge Company, and he didn't know what they did. He didn't know they were outsourcing jobs. They paid him $350,000 a year to do his job. He doesn't know what they do. I ask you, just use common sense. Think about what he's doing. And since he got in Congress, he has voted for every bill that would make opportunity for corporations to move jobs offshore. And that's the kind of behavior for a guy who just simply wants to move our jobs offshore. He wants to use them, outsource them.
a question for Mr. Johnson, please.
Representative Johnson, with many Ohio communities' infrastructures aging, such as water, sewer, and bridges, how can we fund the repair of these infrastructures while bolstering job creation?
I'll answer that in just a second. Charlie, you know there are 5 different furniture companies right here in Ohio that you could be selling furniture for. I'm certainly going to. You know those trade bills that Charlie talked about, they created 250,000 jobs here in America. The one thing that America got so concerned because we weren't working together in Washington. The one thing that we got together with President Obama and actually passed were those 3 trade bills. Created 250,000 jobs, and he wants to stand before you and make an issue out of that. How do we bring infrastructure jobs? We get the federal government out of the way. We sent a 5-year bill to the Senate that restructured 174 regulatory programs and eliminated them and reduced the bureaucratic red burden so that states could have better control over getting their infrastructure programs going. We got no cooperation from the Senate whatsoever. That's the leadership, the failed leadership of the president, the failed leadership of the Senate Majority Leader, and the failed leadership of the House Minority Leader, who Congressman Wilson wants to put in as your next Speaker of the House.
Did any of those bills, did you take them to the Senate? Did you negotiate any of them with any of the people in the Senate? How about Sheriff Brown? Did you do anything with Sheriff Brown? He's running for office. He might be able to help you get that bill through the Senate. The bill, it's always no negotiation, no working together. It's our way or the highway, Joe. You guys say it every day on the floor.
Joey, you're on. He doesn't have to the copy of the 40 jobs bills that we've sent to the Senate, where we have sat down and negotiated with the Senate to try and get something going. He doesn't want you to see that. It's here, folks. Do I still have time?
Ms. Adams, a question for Mr. Wilson, please. Even though Roe versus Wade was passed in 1973, abortion is still a controversial issue. As a lawmaker, what is your position on the abortion issue?
I'm a pro-life candidate. I have been for many years. When I was in the Ohio House of Representatives and when I was in the Ohio Senate. And I still stick by that vote, and that's what I do about Roe.
I have a mother. I have a wife. I have 2 daughters. I have 4 granddaughters. I'm very concerned about the issues that women face. I too am pro-life. That's why I enjoy the National Right to Life endorsement. I think that's because they know I oppose the health care law that Congressman voted for that indeed infringes upon the religious freedoms of religious organizations like the Catholic Church, because it requires them to provide abortive types of medications against their religious convictions. So I believe that abortion starts, that conception, that life starts at conception. And I do not support abortions. I do not support taxpayer-funded abortions. And I do not believe that abortion, me personally, is appropriate except in the case of rape, incest, or when the mother's health is in danger.
I believe that Mr. Johnson and I agree on that subject, and I think both of us are pro-life. We would stand that way in our votes in the House.
Thank you. Mr. Bevins, a question for Representative Johnson, please.
A Gallup poll this month showed that just 13% of Americans approve of the job Congress is doing, and that's up from a record low of 10% in August. Why do you think this rating is so low, and what would you do to improve it?
You know, I'm not surprised that Americans think that Congress is doing an abysmal job. That doesn't surprise me at all. I think what Americans need to realize is that there are two chambers to Congress. When you hear the media talk about Congress, they think it's everybody up there. There's two chambers in the Congress, the House and the Senate. You're talking about a Senate that hasn't passed a budget in nearly 3 years, a Democrat-controlled Senate. You're talking about a Democrat controlled Senate that has ignored over 40 jobs bills that have been sent to the Senate to try and get America moving again. You're talking about a Democratic president and a Democratic Senate that opposed the Keystone XL pipeline that would move America forward in becoming more energy secure, lower the gas prices so that we're not seeing $4 a gallon of gas at the pumps. It's a Democratic-controlled Senate that does not want to stand up to the administration's war on coal, is standing behind the administration in shutting down underground coal mining through the rewrite of the spring buffer zone rule and through onerous clean air regulations, not even based on science, in fact. And that's the problem that we've got in Washington with Congress. We've got a dysfunctional Senate.
Thank you.
How many times have you heard Bill Johnson say Washington is broken? He's the congressman. It is broken. And they need to start reaching out and working together. Right now, ladies and gentlemen, these people that we have, the majority in Congress, are not trying to work solutions with the people in the Senate or even with the Democrats in the House. It's just our way or the highway, and that's how they talk about it. And it's hurting America. And unless we can go down there and realize that we're all in this together and working together, we can get our country out of this mess, then I believe we'll see a Congress that will have a higher rating than 12%. 12%. What a dismal approval rating. Got to be something wrong there, Bill.
This is going to turn into the comedy hour. I tell you what, I have had numerous pieces of legislation, bipartisan legislation, pass the House. I've had one signed into law. Not sure you can see that same track record from Mr. Wilson in the whole 4 years that he was there. That's why I've reached across the aisle with the likes of Congressman Tim Ryan. That's why the plumbers and the pipe fitters and the Fraternal Order of Police have endorsed my candidacy, because they know I come to the middle of the table to talk solutions.
Thank you. Mr. Coulter, a question for Mr. Wilson, please.
Mr. Wilson, how do you balance EPA regulations and a long-term coal industry?
How do I, what?
How do you balance the
Balance
EPA
regulation
Yeah.
in the coal industry. Okay. I think it's one that there are, and as a matter of fact, Congressman Johnson did a vote on the floor last week, and he stood there and said, you know, that I'm leading to stop the war on coal. Bill, I would have voted with you on that vote because it was a good vote. You also said it's not going anywhere because it won't go through the Senate. You're right on that too. What we need to do is work together so that we can get regulations that are going to be reasonable and protect the people and not ones that hurt the coal industry. I'm for the coal industry. I grew up in the coal fields when I was a kid. All of my friends their fathers worked in the coal mines. If they didn't work in the coal mines, they worked on the railroad hauling the coal out of the mines. I know the value of the energy that we have and we use every day, and I don't want to see them hurt by the EPA either. And so I would have voted for his bill.
Mr. Johnson.
Well, that's encouraging that he would have voted for my bill, but you know who didn't vote for my bill? Nancy Pelosi didn't vote for my bill. That's who's funding Mr. Wilson's campaign. They want him back. They want him back.
They didn't find yours, huh?
They want him back because they know that he will vote along party lines with Nancy Pelosi to continue this war on coal. That's exactly what will happen. What is the war on coal? Through the Office of Surface Mining and Reclamation, they are trying to rewrite a stream buffer zone rule that is going to virtually shut down underground coal mining. That effort began under Mr. Wilson's watch. In 2009, the administration had already made its mind up. I can show you the records. You can go out and look at it for yourself. Look at the testimony from the witnesses that have come before the Natural Resources Committee. It started before the president even came into office. It was supported by Nancy Pelosi. It was supported by Congressman Charlie Wilson. And I'm still waiting to find that one evidence that he has stood up for the coal industry, because the coal industry doesn't know it.
You show me the bill where I stood up against coal. You show me the bill, Bill. You show me.
Where you stood up. I can't show you a bill where you stood up against coal.
That's what I'm saying.
I mean, that you stood up for.
I do have 30 seconds, right?
15.
15. I did not vote against coal. I would not, and that's what you said. You said I voted against coal with Nancy Pelosi.
This will be our final question of the evening. Ms. Adams, a question for Mr. Johnson, please.
Many educators would suggest that No Child Left Behind created a school climate of preparing for a test while the development of life skills, creativity, and critical thinking were left behind. What reforms in education do you support?